Hi guys, George here. Today I'm going to bring to you a after action report regarding scenario 178, Advanced Squad Leader. It's the Niscemi-Biscari Highway. Now the action actually took place, if you look at this grand strategic map, around here, I believe around Jena, and the opponent, opposing the Axis forces was the Hermann-Göring Division. And I believe the Parachute Infantry Regiment, the American Parachute Infantry Regiment, was on the side of the Allies. There was a U.S. leader by the name of Gavin that took courageous action, seeing some either mechanized or armored forces, German forces, approaching the position to cut off the Allied amphibious assault. He took courageous action, captured two Italian anti-tank guns, and rushed the German position, cut them off, essentially. A very courageous move. Now, the reason why I'm doing this after action report is because I was inspired to do so because I saw two comments on a Facebook page with respect to Advanced Squad Leader not being a game of movement. The other thought that was expressed was that in Advanced Squad Leader, apart from it not being a game of movement, the person that posted this opinion also said that something against skulking. Now, skulking is a common tactic where you move outside of the line of sight of the opponent to deny him a defensive fire, and then advance back into the position, retaking your position for defending. There are pros and cons to it. Now, I played this scenario against Mark Dennehy and a few other players. Mark is an incredibly great player, and in terms of rules knowledge and digging into the rules and interpreting them, he's an immense help to me, and a real inspiration in terms of let's get to know the rules better and let's see how we can better our game. Really a good, fair player with a level head. So on with the after action report. I'm not going to tell you who won and who lost the scenario. Suffice it to say that I'm presently playing it at least with two other players, and it's a very challenging scenario, and I hope to prove that Advanced Squad Leader is a game of movement. Okay, on to the next slide. So this was the positions that the U.S. player took. He is trying to defend, I believe, one flank, and there should be at least one U.S. squad hip, and the other two items that are hip are the two captured Italian anti-tank guns. And in this respect, there is one flank left open here. Let's see. Let's do the highlighter. There's a flank left open, and it would permit the the German player to come up here and go right here, rather than trying to assault from here, right? But as you can imagine, to counter any movement from here, all the U.S. player needs to do is simply move, and there is cover due to the wheat field here, counter this way, and then the flanker gets flanked, right? Anyway, let's see what how the German player advanced into this position. And here's what the German player did. He went all out. Let's see. Let's try red for Germans here. So he established a fire base here. He brought in his armored car very cautiously because we don't know where the AT gun was. But then he tried to draw fire as well, using deployment and a half squad rushing here, and another squad coming up here, two squads advancing straight on, headlong along this axis, but keeping a little bit of a reserve for now with Fire Group Staller, as I like to call him, 9-2, your leader, being able to fire here, 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 all the way down to there. 3 different locations that, with a medium MG, a 4-6-7 squad, and a 9-2 leader. As the US player, you really don't want to be caught in the woods against that kind of firepower at that distance. And the US units, 747s, their range kind of hinders them from engaging the enemy at a longer distance. All right, so what else do we got here? US turn 1. Now, what happened with the US player is that instead of trying to wait for the Germans here, as you can see, during the US player turn 1, the 9-1 leader is revealed. The half squad that was attempting to draw fire proceeds unimpeded to the woods, and I'm supposed that his next move would be here. And they establish a fire group along this axis here, and some of these concealed units might be dummies, right? So again, what choice does the German have in this respect? He can either rush and try to flank that position around here, or they can try to call either way, try to advance and do a head-to-head assault, a frontal assault, taking cover around here. As you can see already, it is a game of movement, right? Can you call this skulking? It's not exactly skulking because the US player abandoned this axis here and went all the way back. He won't be able to retake this position readily without losing concealment. And he's attempting to draw the German into a close range frontal face-to-face shooting match. Let's see what happens. German turn 2. Okay, so now the German position has evolved again by movement. All these lines that are dotted lines denote movement. He has the position has evolved in such a way that Fire Group Staller here, the 9-2, 4.67, and medium machine gun are firing at the flanks of the U.S. line of defense. All along, there is another good German leader that's dashing across to here, right? The armored car is in a position as well to wreak havoc here. And essentially what this unit is doing is it's a bit of a reconnaissance unit, dashing across, coming close to the victory locations, trying to draw fire, trying to expose these fellows so they can drop concealment. Again, the US player is very disciplined, and he is looking for opportunities to inflict pain on the German player. Okay, this is an 8-turn scenario, I believe. So the Germans have plenty of time to come close and form a good assault. So U.S. turn 2. The U.S. player used this opportunity to position his forces in better defensive position. So he gives up this location and denies fire to Fire Group Staller. So what does Fire Group Staller do? They fire on the opportunity at the target of opportunity, which now becomes this target here. And this is a victory location. And this half squad has lost concealment, but he has come close to a victory location where during US turn 2. So let's go on to the next turn, which would be German turn 3. Okay, I think over here, jumping into close combat is a major mistake. The half squad against a 747. Not a good idea, but it did result in a melee. The Germans advance now into this area, and they have a wall advantage. They're trying to expose at any cost the U.S. player, so that I guess Staller can advance and wreak havoc here. As you can see, certain units try to just advance as quickly as possible. Boom. He breaks and routes back into the woods. The armored car has mouthed his main armament. In the meantime, look what's happening here. That German player that dashed across the map board is trying to flank, and the U.S. position, and Staller is also in a position now to advance with no impediment, save if a AT gun is somewhere around here, and support the left flank. All right, let's move on to the next one. U.S. turn 3. Well, the U.S. finally did open up fire, right? And we have a lot of broken units here. Close combat situation there. Believe you me, going in squad for squad in this game, in this particular scenario, squad for squad, a German 467 against a US 747 does not have a high hope of success in close combat. The only way to attack a single 747 in close combat for the Germans is to go in there with the leader and 2 squads, and that's incredibly dangerous. The most valuable U.S. leader here has succeeded somewhat in being a big obstacle to the German advance. Right? Fire Group Staller now is will have to think about continuing staying as a fire group to fire here, or should he advance there? Okay, this squad has revealed itself, so we know that this position is well defended. We don't know about this, and we don't know about this, and we most certainly can estimate that this was not going to go well for the Germans, but they have reinforcements coming in. And what to do with the armored car? He has mouthed his weapon. You try to repair it, and it's permanently mouthed. Then you have to recall that armored fighting vehicle, and it goes off board. Now, this is a quote-unquote douchebag tactic. You don't have to repair the armored car. You can also try to log it and immobilize it, and then repair it if it gets repaired in a position where you can't retreat. Anyway, we'll see what happens there as well. Now let's go on to German turn 4. German turn 4. Well, here there's a successful close combat that took place during the previous turn. Here, the U.S. player eliminated the advancing German multi-man counter, and then subsequently incurred fire from them, and then they retreated there. This fellow here, as you can see, he achieved rate of fire and started peppering his target of opportunity in one way or another. The German attack here didn't go so well, but they were able to rout. And the armored fighting vehicle is trying to immobilize himself in the woods here. Okay. US turn 4, so the game is halfway finished. Finally, Staller, Fire Group Staller, decides to advance here. Okay. This German LMG was captured from the close combat here. And now, Commander Han here, Captain Han, is in a position to circle around the U.S. position here. I guess you can call it a very fortified, in terms of firepower, not fortifications, U.S. position. It's beginning to weaken due to attrition. Okay. German turn 5. Staller finally makes it. Boom. He makes the big boom. A move right here. And now he is in a position to attack here. He successfully routed somebody there. And he can attack here as well. There's no wall impediment. Slowly but surely, this group of troops is being rallied and has protection against them. The German unit with the leader advanced here. He's ready to ditch into the woods and fire this way. Okay. US turn 5. So despite the German advance here, again, the Americans are in a good place because here the US player has a great defensive position. I would say that the better location is to go along the hedge and here as well. Take the +1 modifier and make sure you have LOS along this hex spine here to prevent a headlong attack. But for one reason or another, the US player found it better to situate them there. Here, if this unit is real, as you can see, he's blocking the road, he's blocking any advance from here. This is where he will incur a lot of detrimental hindrance modifications for any units advancing this way. Right, and this unit here has this covered. So basically, it'll take a turn or two for the Germans to advance through this area. So basically, you would like, as the German player, to get into the house, advance into the shell holes, and then in the next movement phase, go into the building and then move up, as opposed to dashing across in the open and getting a -2 modifier to the attacker's dice rolls against you. Again, having a 747 with a German captured LMG and an 8-1 leader here helps the US player. As you can see, they're in a position where they can at least cause some serious morale checks to the German player. All right, on with German turn 6. So finally, now what the German player has done is he advanced into the shell holes, gives him a +1 temp, same as Woods, and he's in a position to dash across here and threaten this victory location there. Okay. Due to wall advantage, well, they are able to pop up, divide their forces into 2 different hexes, and fire at this German U.S. Defensive position. Here, Stoller is now a little bit of a powerhouse. He has rate, he has a -2 modifier. You don't want to be in the woods against him. You want to be somewhere along here and far at him. Yep. Then here, the German player decided to ditch the armored car into the woods, hopefully to get him bogged. But I think the only thing this thing achieved was getting itself killed. You were probably better off trying to repair the weapon. All right. U.S. turn 6. Well, we got a situation here where I believe the U.S. player advanced, but the German player still has the ability to fire. This fellow is pinned because he fired on him, and somehow the U.S. player says, okay, we're going to get out of his line of sight, deny him an opportunity to fire, and take a defensive position elsewhere. Again, this is not quite skulking because the U.S. player would have moved back in here, but this reminds me of the con, the con as opposed to a pro, against skulking. You're denying yourself an opportunity to advance fire, or opportunity fire. So that tactic has its tactics, its pros and cons, and I think that there are more cons than pros to it. You have to be very clever and devious to use skulking effectively. And if I think you use it profusely, it can be done against you. Again, I don't think the U.S. player here skulked, but what was being attempted here was a running defense. Yeah. All right, German turn 7. We're down to the wire. As you can see here, Han managed to advance all the way there. There's a bit of a reserve coming in. This fellow went berserk, trying to rally. There was a hero creation as well due to heat of battle. This leader here stayed behind as a reserve. The U.S. player finally managed to blow up the armored car with a bazooka. And now the U.S. player is in a position to really wreak havoc on the 9-2 leader. And the one U.S. captured AT gun revealed itself to try to break him. Now, the Italian captured AT guns, Canon, I hear they call them. They're used as if they were captured. So there's an additional +2 DRM to the 2-hit roll. The malfunction number is a 10, not a 12. And if they're in concealment terrain, woods, that is, there's additional detrimental modifiers to your 2-hit dice roll. But the end of the game is closely approaching. Okay, U.S. turn 7. Another AT gun reveals itself, so we have 2 AT guns. So you got a covered arc in this direction, right? And a covered arc in this direction, right? So as you can see, now the rate of these guns, the rate of fire ordinarily is a 3, but since they're captured, it's reduced by 1 to 2. Okay. So This situation here is very precarious for the Germans. The 9-2 leader trying to dash across this direction is also precarious. And now the victory conditions, you need 2 out of the 3 buildings here. And we have the German players here in high hopes of being able to advance there if this is a dummy. This certainly isn't a dummy. And the Germans definitely need to reinforce this location and keep these fellows out. All right. However, although the U.S. player has temporarily given up this location, you can see that there is a force to contend with here and here. All right, German turn 8. What happened here? Okay, what happened here is in the previous turn, this fellow tried to attack them at a ridiculous DRM, or maybe I'm skipping ahead. Scratch that. Let's go here and figure out how the German advanced here. Okay, how the German advanced there was by basically deploying 2 half squads from this location. One unit went up close and personal, and then the other unit went in here. As you can see, the AT gun broke. There's not much you can do because this hedge blocks the LOS to there. This unit that was here could have only fired in this location. It looks like his fire was not effective. This fellow here ignored the 9-2 leader because it appears it's broken and tried to evict them, all right? But they had no issue advancing there, right? There was not much he can do here where he routed. And then the German 467 now advanced into the shell holes and has fire in this hex. Right? And this guy's a burning wreck. So now what happened? Oh, the other thing that's important to note is that there was a German unit that advanced here and a leader that advanced there, and ultimately he was taken prisoner by this fellow here. So now we got, the German has 2 victory locations. The game is in his hands, right? And it remains the U.S. players' responsibility to evict the German from the victory location. So what happened there? Okay, what happened there was the 9-1 leader with a half squad and a prisoner, a single man counter prisoner, advanced to close combat here. They tried from over here, they did rally and tried to advance into here, advance into there, but accurate fire from the squad pinned that unit. The other unit fired here, and we fired, meaning we used a support weapon to target one hex, and we used inherent firepower to fire at another. The hero also has 1 firepower and a -1 DRM. So basically, he could deny the protective fire, the protection that the woods afforded to the U.S. player. Stoller ultimately died because this unit fired at them, right, at 2 up 2, triggered the sniper, and the sniper took out Stoller. It was incredible. Here he is up in the on the casualty list. As you can see, the Germans did pay a heavy price for this advance, but ultimately paid off. They did get 1 leader captured, And ultimately, he saved the game because the U.S. player went into close combat with a prisoner, and we counted this fellow as being a prisoner for the purposes of close combat, having their firepower, and the dice roll was one. The dice roll for the American was one greater than what was required to eliminate the Germans from there. Now, that's how we interpreted the rule that for prisoners is that he was a legitimate purposes for the purposes of determining the odds for close combat. Other people might have a different interpretation, but that's how we agreed upon it upon reading the particular rule. In this case, the German player won. But what is important to note here is that it's not about who won or who lost. What is important is that this is a game of movement. Skulking is not the end-all and the greatest defensive tactic. Perhaps I didn't prove it in this scenario because there was very little skulking to be had. It was more of a retreating defense rather than a skulk. The other interesting point is that what transpires from this game is a great narrative. Now, having said that, it's very odd that the U.S. player lost in this particular case. The historical outcome was that the Americans were audacious. They moved forward. They attacked across a ridge, if I remember correctly, and with 2 captured AT guns, they were able to take a strong defensive position and drive the Germans back. Having said that, I am currently playing the game again with 2 other players, Ken and Dennis. And on one side I am the Americans, and on the other side I am the Germans. I shouldn't have said that because I thought I said in the beginning of the this video that I would never disclose which player I am playing, because what is important is not winning or losing. It's, you know, how you play the game and the interesting narrative that you could tell your grandchildren that transpires from the game. So this was an interesting twist of events, and it is a very challenging scenario. It's a very enjoyable scenario, and you will get very interesting narratives from it. I highly recommend that you play it, and don't be shy. Post your AARs in your favorite medium, whether it be Game Board Geek or Game Squad, Discord, or here on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this scenario. If you have any questions, any comments, please don't hesitate to let me know. And like and subscribe if you like this video. Thank you so much. Take care.